Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pink Elephant Podcast with me, Dr. Debbie Akerman. Thank you to everybody who's been listening and subscribing and to the really wonderful comments that I've been getting. It's really heartwarming. I am really excited about today's episode. Really happy that this guest decided to come. Wasn't sure if he would come on because he's so amazing in his own right. Wasn't sure that he would come on. And so today we are joined by the one, the only Sonny Perlman. Hi, Sonny.
Hello.
And I am not introducing Sonny. I'm going to let Sonny introduce Sonny because I don't have enough words. I have tons of words, but they're not enough. So, Sonny, tell us about you.
That's a good move. You do the work.
I learned from you.
Yeah. How about you, dude? Grew up ultra-Orthodox, that's what I would say. I never go back that far, but, you know, like...
Wait, what are you, 30 at this point?
For the religious group, I had what we call longa pious, long pious, nobody knows, bald head. Nobody knows this.
Really?
This is very... Yeah, there you go.
This is already worth it. Did you really?
Worth it. Yes.
Oh, my God.
I have pictures I'll show you after the pod.
Yeah, okay.
I got into the field of addiction, the addiction field, 99. We're going back a couple of years. I know I look young.
You look like you're 25.
We're talking 99, so we're around the 25-year mark or something like that. I got originally in it with... I worked for mentoring programs, and then I worked for rehabs, but my main thing was Our Place, which Our Place is a drop-in center in Brooklyn. Started that around 22 years ago, running that place for a while, like most of that time, and that's a drop-in center for teens that are falling out of the system in Brooklyn.
That's where I met you the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like we met at a conference.
We either met at Nefesh at the mental health conference, or we met at, and then maybe you invited me to Our Place.
Could be that.
And it was in the basement of some building in Brooklyn.
Yes.
With a couch that you sat on and sunk to the floor.
So, right. We usually cut the legs off because otherwise they're going to break. So everything is sitting on the floor.
But wait, I have one question. Though you're one of how many siblings?
There are 8 of us.
And how many of them are in mental health?
It's a setup.
It totally is.
I think I calculated. My mother is a therapist, so between my mother and the married-ins, I think we're at 9.
9 therapists.
So 9 therapists out of, and then we have some coaches. 9
therapists and coaches.
Yeah, well, I think it's more with the coaches. I don't want to say that we're knocking the coaches out.
Okay, so you're either the most functional family on the planet or the most dysfunctional family on the planet. Like I'm not sure here. Where are we going?
Well, in order to make a proper therapist, they have a really good therapist.
There had to have been dysfunction.
Has to be a really good mix of trauma and love. Like there has to be.
That's what I was about to say.
There you go.
My God! As you were saying it, I thought there has to be a perfect balance of trauma and unconditional love.
There you go. See, if you have that, then you make some really good therapists, and we have some really good therapists in our family.
Wait, are you my son?
So it's like a perfect recipe. So you have to right. If you have those 2, I think there are probably other pieces. But some really, really insightful, amazing therapists in my family that have done incredible things. And my sister is the dean of YU.
Wow.
She's the dean of students over there. She's a psychologist. Her husband's a psychologist.
Who's that? What's her name?
Sarah Asher.
Oh, sure. Well, I should be nicer to you.
You should be nicer to me. That's right. So there's only one sibling who is probably doing the most for mental health in the entire family, and she's not a therapist.
Really?
And that's Abigail, who's writing the books on ADHD like no one's ever seen before. She has something called Hyper Healing. It is epic. You get her on the pod. She's amazing. We all love each other, and we all have
trauma and love.
We mixed it up. And then lately, this is how I know you really, is the last 10 years or so I've been doing Sober Living Community in Muncie. So there was the first...
And we worked together.
Right. So the first version we worked together because you were a lot closer to Muncie, and lately we just talk to each other.
So I want to put it on the record. So we met at the living room, right? The couch with no legs.
With no legs.
Trisha Tia was there, Dr. Tia.
No, that was Our Place.
That was Our Place, excuse me.
The living room was part of Our Place, yeah.
Right. I always get them confused. The living room, no, I do. The living room came out of Our Place, like it was an offshoot.
The living room was part of Our Place, and Our Village, what I'm running now, is also part of Our Place.
Okay, so everything started with Our Place.
Right.
We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so we met there.
Right.
There was a pool table, there were guitars, guys were floating in and out, and I was in social work school then, and I knew right then,
Right.
like, this is it, this is what
But you were
I'm looking
hilarious
at.
in social work school. You were like in social work school, ready to be the director of everything.
True.
You were like, okay, I'll be in social work school. I'll run 3 private practice. I want to run 7 clinics. I was like,
Right.
take a chill, lady. You already have 400 kids.
I was in my 40s. I had to make up for time. I was in my 40s and I was starving and getting
Right.
divorced. It was like that happy.
Yeah.
But then you hired me to be the therapist at
It
Airport.
was a cold arena then.
That's right.
But
oh
my
God.
partner,
oh my God.
Nussie Monk, passed away from
Right.
cancer, unfortunately.
Right.
So
Right.
we had to close that program down. But you were the primary
Right.
therapist there. You were.
And I want to say it on the record.
Yes.
You are the only person I ever worked for that went completely 100% smooth. There was never a conflict. There was always good terms, even when we couldn't work together anymore. It was seamless. We remained friends.
Right.
I've never had a working experience like that with anybody else. Not because I'm difficult.
I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm like, why
No,
not?
it's nothing to do with me. There are difficult people out there.
That's true.
And you are not difficult.
Well, I'll tell you why it works so well with us. We have a bumper sticker for our village, and it just says "Only Love," and it really came down to that. That's the
right.
answer for everything.
Everything.
So hiring you is a no-brainer.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm saying, like, that's why it always worked, because we were always on the exact same page.
Because
like,
we do
we'd
program.
argue about something, like the argument ended with "Only Love," and
Yeah.
then there was no argument.
It ends with program because you do program,
Right.
I do program, and that's the only way to.
Everything else is details around the love.
That's right. What made you decide to start with the teen? Wait, 2000 and what were you doing this?
99 is the first time I got
Okay.
into the business.
So I want to put a backdrop for those who
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Okay, 99, nobody was talking about addiction in our community.
Right,
Right.
right.
Because Trisha Tia did her dissertation on Hasidic youth who couch surf. That was what her. I read
Right.
it. I read her dissertation, and that's what she did. And she kind of brought that problem to the forefront.
Right.
And you started, and so when I was in social work school, because I did my dissertation on addiction in the Orthodox Jewish community, I couldn't find articles.
There's nothing.
To write. That was 2010 starting.
Yes.
So you're 10 years before that.
Yeah.
So we didn't have addiction in 1999 in our community.
Didn't
It
exist.
didn't exist. Like you were clearly delusional because there wasn't a problem. It was your issue.
It was
not
my
that-
issue.
So how did you decide to go? It's not straight in.
Right.
Straight in Brooklyn. Great. Straight in like one of the most right-wing enclaves that we have. You didn't
Well,
like
it
go
was in
down-
Brooklyn in the beginning.
Where was it?
It was in the 5 towns. What happened was...
Five Towns is Brooklyn with more trees.
Okay, got it.
It's
That's true. That's
it's
true.
not like you were in Short Hills, New Jersey.
No,
you
it
were
wasn't.
in Milburn. You were in what do they call it? The schmaltz. You were in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And you're going to do a teen drop-in center for youth.
Okay, so when I got
it's
started,
suicide.
it wasn't that.
It's community suicide. Like what? Where did you think you were going to get support, funding, people to do this? Like, I'm being serious.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I you know what? I don't think I ever thought about any of that stuff.
Well, that I believe.
Yeah, no, I just I had gone through my own experiences and I was ready to tackle this like it was mission. And it was about getting these guys and taking one after the next and seeing what we could do with their lives. I didn't really care about the details around. Like, I didn't really oh, this guy's angry at me and this and that. And actually, at the beginning, I used to get angry when someone would actually attack our program or me or something like that. And I got advice from Chaim Glantz, who I work with. I don't know if you met Chaim. He's
I met him.
the one I work with in our place.
Okay.
And he runs everything. And he says, our policy is we do not respond. Do not respond. I'm like, I don't understand. They're literally going to the newspapers and saying terrible stuff, and the newspapers are calling me, how do you want to respond? We do not respond. And I didn't understand it because I was angry and young, and so I didn't really understand that. And then I didn't respond and realized that it's a very boring story when you get one side. The other side just looks like catty. We're just we're helping kids. You want to say bad stuff about us? Knock yourself out. The second you make it into a fight, it you drop to their level. So we just never respond. I responded one time of my entire career to any type of criticism.
So just asking for a friend and to
Yeah.
bring our elephant into the room, which is now white, but Marvin is going to paint pink.
Right.
What would people say? What?
So, I mean, the biggest argument is that if, let's say, we weren't working with these kids, let's say we kind of let them fall out the side and, like, stay on the street, other kids wouldn't be destroyed by those kids. Like, let's say we run our place. There's 500 to 700 kids a year coming through the place.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Still today. Yeah.
Are you still in that same place?
Yeah.
500 to 700 kids in there?
That's just for the guys' place. We have 12 different programs now. What I'm saying is that program has between 5 to 7.
And you think I want to run 41 programs and have 3 private practices? I mean, I don't do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And the other one is like, the girls' program has 200. The living room's dealing with 500, 600, 700.
Really, living
maybe
room's
1,000
exploded. You've
Crazy.
Exploded in the living room.
Right. The living room's got 5 different programs.
All over the United States.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Boca.
Yes.
And Lakewood and Toms River and the 5 towns and Brooklyn. I mean, you're all over.
It's incredible. So we're dealing with...
I love the living room. It's godsend.
It's amazing. And that works with the recovery community of our place. So we're dealing with all those kids, and they're saying, like, okay, maybe 200 kids are not doing well, but the other 600 kids are all doing great. And because you give them a place to be, that they could get worse and worse. So we're ruining the kids. Like, maybe, that's and honestly, I don't think it's such a illegitimate argument. There is an argument to it. Peer pressure exists. Like, you go out into the street and you could have been smoking pot, and then a month later you could be shooting heroin. Like, it could get worse. It could happen.
But that's just the inner pain. That's not a function of.
100%.
I mean, yes, it's people, places, and things, and I get that. But you're talking about kids who have been battered. I mean, they're coming in hurt.
That's true. But let's say so. We do actually take it seriously, that claim.
Okay.
And we have rules about the only way you cannot get into our place is if you're in a real school. Like, if you're in Chavetz Chaim, you're not getting into our place. I
want you to say that again. Yeah. The only thing that you can not get in is if you're actually in a real mainstream school.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Only be
see, you are going to have kids dropping out by droves now just to get into our place. I could see happening.
Kids, I used to run this group. I think it was like a Tuesday night. I used to take a bunch of guys to do like a recovery group. We would go to a restaurant. Somebody was sponsoring it. So we go to the restaurant with a bunch of guys. So like 10 guys, and I would walk out and go to the restaurant. One guy always wanted to come, but he never used drugs in his life. And I remember him standing by the door as we left. And he's standing there. He opens the door, and he goes, "I'll do drugs if you let me come. I want to come. I'll do drugs." So there's.
That's what I always tell my clients. I'll go to rehab. Right. Give me a month where I get to color and journal.
Oh my God.
And eat breakfast. My client just said he went to a place where they put the music on and they gave them coloring stuff. Close your eyes and just color. I'm like, wait, sign me up. This sounds amazing.
Rehab gets like a bad rap. People are like, I don't want to go to rehab. I'm like, are you kidding?
I'll go to rehab.
I get a month where I could turn off my
phone. Totally.
And concentrate on where I want to go in life and how I want to fix and what I want to fix and my goals. Imagine a full night's sleep.
No, I don't even know what that looks like.
Right.
How'd you get the first person to walk in? And I'll tell you what, I want to know because that was exactly my dissertation. I was hired to start a program in Muncie. You remember this? Years ago. And
I remember.
And we had an umbrella organization that we were going to work with, and everybody's very excited.
Right.
And 6 months later, we could not get 10 people to walk through the door, and we closed down.
Oh, because it was a different type of program.
It was an outpatient treatment center. The point is, I know, I get all the reasons right. But in a community the size of Rockland County, even in 2010, we should have gotten 10 people. That's all the agency wanted was 10 people to make it viable. They gave it 6 months. We could not get 10 people to walk through the door.
Wow.
So I want to know how 10 years earlier you got people to walk through the door. You advertised, you started talking to rabbis, you picked up boys from the street corners. What did you do?
So it's actually fascinating because there really isn't that much like where I could read about this. Like a lot of it was just figuring it out on the fly. I will tell you that getting the initial, when you have a clinical program and trying to get a kid to your program or someone who's deeply in addiction, doesn't really want to get help into your program, it's nearly impossible.
Right.
But if you open a program and say, hey, anybody could come here and just enjoy playing pool and pizza and go work out in the gym and hang out, meet a couple friends and go smoke a blunt outside and like that's
you'll get people.
It's a good chill. So There's no agenda at all with Our Place. So Our Place, it was never a question of who's coming or who's not coming.
And it was word of mouth? Like you got
it's
one
all
kid
word
in?
of mouth. The problem with these programs
But people, you had to tell somebody something like, hi, we're here, this is called Our Place.
When it opens, it's just word of mouth. As a matter of fact, parents call me and say, should I tell my kid about it? Like, if you tell your kid, they're not coming. Please do not tell your kid about it.
And please do not come with your kid to the program.
Don't come.
Do not show up with your kugel and your cookies.
No, I tell therapists, teachers.
Okay.
We have to keep a little bit of a bad reputation in order for the guys to want to come. So don't go telling them, because now it's some program that they're forcing us to change or something like that. So when you walk in, so actually in this space, this drop-in center space, because we're not getting into our village, which is really the new thing, but the drop-in center space is, you kind of have two parts. One is, we need to fix people, and one, it's like this Heimish chill out type of experience, like this, like very, very relaxed, and you have these two things going on. So what I found is some programs get very much into the fixing. So they're much more clinical, much more you like sign in and you got to have a meeting with them, and the parents come in and they sign. That's one group, and they're trying to help. The other group is people who are like total chaos, like chill, like no one's doing anything. Maybe some mentoring is happening, but just like we're making a place because it's better than them being on the street.
The street, correct. Right.
So those two programs, different things happen. The ones that's total chaos fill up. Lots of kids come.
Right.
But nobody gets better. The ones that are working on getting better, nobody shows up.
Right.
If they show up, they may get better. But no one shows up. They end up dead, and they end up falling apart.
So you did a hybrid?
So Our Place, what I discovered pretty quick, and I thank God my personality works really well for this, is
amazingly well for
chaos
this.
And order works for me.
Love and trauma.
Yeah, love and trauma. There you go. So put it together.
Like a rose, petals and thorns.
Exactly.
There you go. I could be a new PR person.
There you go.
Are you hiring again? I love working with you. Let's do it. Yeah. Well, I have an hour in the week. We could work together again. I'm good.
Oh,
totally. I'll meet you. We used to go to every pizza shop in Rockland. I hit every pizza shop with you.
Okay,
so we can do it
nice.
again, yeah. But
All
I just
right.
do salad now. No more pizza.
You do salad now?
I got off my drug, wheat and sugar.
Thank God.
Yeah, I detoxed.
I got back on pizza. So
don't show it to me. You know what they say? One pizza pie is not enough, and 1,000 is too many.
Yeah.
From AA, right? One drink is not. Yeah. So one noodle is not enough, and 1,000 is too many. That's my motto.
That's your motto.
No, 100%.
Okay. The key is to make sure the place feels like the greatest chill of all time. And then secretly, behind the scenes, you're helping everybody. So the way Our Place works is it's a mentorship model. We believe that there's no healing without connection. And that's like there's famous videos about this and stuff now, and the TED Talk is awesome. But there's no healing unless you have that connection. So we start on the mentorship level. And then when a guy's connected, they're like, okay, I want to get a little better. I want to work with my family. Then we have the back. That's kind of like our back end, where we have the therapist rooms. If you come into Our Place, you don't know where the therapist rooms are. They're hidden.
I saw.
Not hidden,
Yeah,
but
I know.
the doors are strategically.
I still remember it.
Not in your face.
I still remember the pool table, the musical instruments, the gym equipment, and the guys just chilling.
It's pretty huge. It's like 4,000 square feet. Like it really is big.
In Brooklyn?
Yeah, it's really big.
Did you buy a block? I mean, like that's
it's
Brooklyn.
It's a basement, like of a whole, like half a block. It's pretty cool.
So the next elephant in the room. How do you fund this?
Our Place?
Anything. I mean,
okay, so there's different programs, but Our Place it was originally mainly government funded. Mainly, there was a lot of funding
because they like that model.
They love the model, and the truth is, it was helping the community. Like drop-in centers are very good for future community.
Correct.
You're helping people in every community.
Correct.
Especially inner city, and like drop-in centers is very, very important. So there is funding for that. Although in 2008 everything got dropped. So there's been a lot of fundraising, and it's all fundraising. Nothing costs money.
You do the fundraising?
I do. I help with the fundraising, but I do not do the fundraising.
It's a tough job.
Yeah, it's a terrible job. It's the worst.
Yes, it is.
Who wants to do that? It's the absolute worst. But I created Our Village, which is my sober living community, and that.
What was it called when I worked for you?
Arena Sober Living.
Next plug.
Yes, next plug.
You are the
First of all,
only.
the plug of all plugs, I have a Brainstorm podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. Just everybody know that, right?
Okay.
We're trading
For plugging.
podcasts. That if we're plugging, but Arena was also the only program I worked at that was successful. Your model worked, and I tell that to everybody.
Tell me more. You're making me happy.
It worked. What? It
really
was
worked.
perfect. Guys got better. I must have interfaced with, I worked with you for a couple of years. I interfaced with a lot of guys there, and I will tell you statistically, the vast majority of them, yes, there's always going to be the curve, but the vast majority of them were sober, got jobs, got married, became part of a community. They recovered. I have never worked in a program except for Arena that could say that.
Right.
And I remember the house, and it was beautiful. I actually
was
wanted to move
gorgeous.
in. I'm like, that's a nice house. Like a nice
was
kitchen,
nice.
like the family room. I can move in here. But it worked. It
Yeah.
worked. You should be opening 14 sober living houses. I am here to tell you to open more. You're not
Well,
working
it's
hard
coming.
enough.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
He's
So
going to kill me.
The interesting thing
His
is
wife
that
your wife is going to kill me. You
No,
must
no,
work
no.
harder, Sonny. You must work harder. Not
I
being
don't have
serious
to work
with you.
hard. I'm working smarter now, which I'm really proud of.
This is really what I want to talk to you about. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm saying I've gotten some really top of the line staff, which is super cool. We stopped calling it a sober house. We call it a sober community
Right.
because we're up to 5 houses actually now
Where? I
in
know
Muncie
nothing.
and
Where?
Pomona area.
5?
I have 5 houses, and we're opening a woman's house in August. I know you're excited about that.
You want my resume?
Dropped it on.
You
the
want my
phone.
resume?
No, I hired somebody, and
I'm
you
done
don't
too
have
late.
time. You do not have time.
I
for
have
this.
from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and it would be for you.
For me.
I will
Oh, for
totally
me.
devote it for you. That's amazing because
it's
that is
amazing.
needed.
It
That is needed.
We're very excited. I am terrified because I never work with women, so I hired someone who she's wonderful. So we'll see.
Women are very calm. We're very unemotional. We're very easy.
There's no drama
Absolutely
at
not.
all. So we'll see.
No
because
boy
the community
issues, no
needs-
relationship stuff. It's all very no codependency. It's all very chill. You're gonna love it. Yeah.
Yeah. A community needs women, so that's what we're doing.
How many
but I am
taking-
nervous about it.
That's gonna be great. How many women are you taking?
So for starters, the first house, which is you've been to Arena, this is like 10 times as nice as that. It is the nicest house. It is so gorgeous. I can't even
Where,
handle
in
it.
Pomona?
It's actually in like Forshey area, but it is magnificent. The one over, it's a magnificent.
I will
house.
definitely
It
take
was-
a guided
was-
tour.
Yeah, it is
I'm
really
coming.
it's so beautiful.
And I will plug it. We will plug.
And they got a pool and a lake and a property. I mean, it's like serenity of all serenity. It's amazing, amazing. Anyway, we're starting the women's, but the numbers, like what you're saying, it's when someone comes into the program, and if you want, I could go more into what's actually happening. But when someone comes in, like we're almost at the point where we're very confused if someone isn't totally successful. Like it's weird if someone I don't understand what happened along the lines. The numbers of guys that are doing well, like statistically, it's
incredible.
Like well over 80%.
Yeah.
Crazy
Well,
numbers.
that's what I saw when I was working with you, and that's why
Yeah.
I only promote what I have actually seen, worked with, or have my hands in it. And your program worked. It worked.
So let me
Sorry.
ask you, because it's your podcast.
You
but
ask me
why
anyway.
do you think it worked? There you
Because
go. As an observer.
Yeah, because you led with love. There was always love. Don't take this the wrong way, Sonny, but you were remarkably successful. But you still think like a 17-year-old in some ways. Like you're a guy's guy. It was. You started from where the clients were at. The house was beautiful. You treated them with respect. The beauty of the house, like the vast majority of society, treats people with addiction like garbage. I mean, they're just not respected as human beings. They're, and if you have a clinic, okay, you'll make money. I worked in clinics, and it just wasn't the attitude. So they have a beautiful place. The staff was great. You love them, and they know that.
Right.
And you treated them well, and you appealed to what they need. There was good food. You took them on trips. You appealed to you're a person. You're a human being. You deserve to, and you got them jobs, which I
Yes.
think is
Good
hugely
jobs.
important. You have to have purpose
Yeah.
and a reason to get up in the morning and somebody to believe in you, and they got good jobs. And you said, you gave them a fishing pole and not a fish.
Yeah,
And
it was
that's-
important because most of these
you know.
programs are IOP. I
Right.
appreciate that whole analysis. There's a lot more I would talk about, but I'm saying
Well, that's the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, Reader's Digest version. No, but one of the things, there are a couple of things that you mentioned that like are not obvious to the world. Like one of them, first of all, the gorgeousness of the place. Like
So important.
Nobody has a twin size bed. Everybody's
That-
got a queen size bed, and it's gorgeous.
There were times I
and
wanted to come to the
comfortable.
house and just take a nap. I
Yeah.
should tell you that. I was
It's
like, can I just
amazing.
pop in and take a nap if it's
The
an empty room?
food, next level.
Yeah, it was
We have
great.
a chef who makes delicious food. Like
Yep.
it's so much love and respect.
Yep.
Tremendous amount of
That's what I
respect.
said.
The jobs. A lot of things about recovery jobs. You get a job like, oh, you work in Walmart. It increases your humility. Garbage. It makes you feel terrible.
Right.
So you're an adult and you feel terrible.
Thank you.
So we got these guys. Some of these guys are making $80,000 in my program. Like they're killing it.
You just said one of the most when I worked in the Bronx in my first job straight out of social work school, one of the hardest things that we were doing was trying to find people jobs. Why? A lot of the people we were working with were dealers.
Right.
And they were making money.
Killer money.
And then we're telling them, you can work at McDonald's. And they're like, no, I'm not, I'd rather go back to dealing. They're making killer money. And we're telling them, you can work for like $8 an hour. This is really good for you. And they're like, goodbye. And they left. The 16-year-olds who were runners were making a couple $100 per run. They're not interested in working
Right.
for minimum wage. So you get them a real job where you can make real money, right? Being a drug dealer makes a lot of money. It's very dangerous.
Also an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Get a drug dealer in the program. I'm going to
They're
hook 'em
phenomenal
up with a
business people.
businessman and
Do you know how
let's
much
get
what
'em
they
out
can do
there.
under so much? I tell this to my students all the time. You take a drug dealer; he's dealing with millions of dollars under the most stressful circumstances in the world. He's either going to be killed or end up in jail. You can't get more stress than that. They're managing tons of people. Right? They're managing goods. They're managing a team. There's this fabulous book that I read years ago. It's about this sociology PhD student. It's called Gang Leader for a Day. And he's so naive. He walks into the projects in Chicago, the huge projects that were there, with his little sheaf of papers with his questionnaire. Starts handing them out in the projects, going, hi, could you please fill out my questionnaire? I'm studying, gang, whatever. Guys come, pick him up, shove him in the stairwell. He said he was so naive, he didn't even know he should be terrified. It was the gang's, his people.
Right.
They're like, nobody does anything in here without this guy's knowledge. And he's like, oh, okay, no problem. And he's like, gives them his sheaf of papers. They kept him there all night. He ended up staying within that system for 9 years. Got incredibly close with the leader. But what he shows you is exactly that. There is such an economy going on there. And the leader is running a corporation.
Right.
He has upper managers, middle managers, lower level people, and he is running that whole thing. So they need to be entrepreneurs. Exactly.
Right.
And thank you.
I will throw out another thing is that addicts, all addiction, the core of addiction is really codependency or people addiction, right? Okay, there you go. We're getting
See,
into addiction.
I taught you things. That's exactly.
There you go. So it's all.
Oh, God, that feels so good to say that. No, I'm kidding.
Go ahead. Okay.
I know, exactly. It's under
So that's where
addiction
it
is
starts.
codependency and a deep desire to please
Right.
people and be validated.
So that's
by
the
that.
underlying.
Correct.
Now that makes the best salespeople of all time.
Correct.
I mean, if I could read a room and know exactly how everybody in that room feels because I needed it for my survival,
Yep.
to be able to make sure everybody in this room is loving me, so then I could be a great salesperson.
Jordan Belfort.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right.
he makes no bones about it.
Could I tell you about my codependency doll?
What?
I didn't invent it. I'm
You
just going
have
to
a
tell
what?
you the idea. I have a codependency doll. I don't know if this is the right podcast for this, but the doll is.
I want one. What does it say?
when
Yes,
you hear
please
it-
love me. What does it
When
say?
you hear it, you're gonna love it.
Does it have my face? No kidding. What does it
We
say?
can personalize it. So the doll it's just a regular doll, but when you throw it against the wall, it says, "I'm sorry."
I want one.
Right?
Because I always
That's hilarious, dog.
Because I always tell people, I was born, and the first words I said were, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I caused you pain. If you just give me a little bottle with milk, I'll curl up. I won't bother you."
Right.
Like, literally
Right.
from birth on.
I could use some milk if you can.
Exactly. If
you can
not, I'll
spare
just
it.
suck my thumb.
It's all
It'll just be
right.
right. Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
really, really sorry, Mom. I know I caused you a lot of anguish, but I apologize. my favorite 2 words, I'm sorry.
Right. So there you go. That's my doll.
We're going to market this. I want this.
You want to you make it the
No, I
pink
want my
elephant?
face on it. Under codependency is my picture in the dictionary. It's like, there I am. This is great. So you have 5 men's houses, 1 woman's.
Well, it's common, yeah.
How do you manage all this?
So you know what was helpful? Like I mentioned it before, getting a little healthier.
But
I don't have
boundaries? You actually have set work hours? No.
Well, for sure.
You
no,
do?
for sure. I have no interest in answering the phone at night. I don't even have a desire to answer the phone. It doesn't even do it for me anymore.
Sonny, I call you a lot. You never have a desire to answer.
I don't answer the phone ever. We run under this like philosophy that there is no crisis. We don't deal with anything as a crisis. People, crisis intervention. There are emergencies, but there is no crisis. And for emergencies, you call Atzala or you call 911. There is no. If you're telling me it's an emergency, then call 911.
Perfect.
Don't
Yep.
call me.
Correct.
I don't need it.
Correct.
Because anything else took them 20 years to get to this point, 30
Correct.
years to get to this point.
$400,000 and a lifetime that needs to be
Every
fixed,
time my
right.
staff is freaking out, this situation's happening, I'm like, this is a lifetime. You think this is the first time he's having this type of situation?
Correct.
Your idea is to be the rock in the storm. That's what you're doing.
Correct.
This is his crisis.
And
But he
recovery is a
thinks-
lifetime.
And we're
It's
in
a
it for
journey.
a lifetime.
That's right.
And it's about us being the strength of them. So I'm dealing with a sober living home. If you mention this to other people in sober living homes, there's never a fight. We never have a fight. Physical, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. There's so much love and part of that is because we just are not dealing with things like everything's the biggest issue in the world.
Right.
Everything could be dealt with. So the first thing is, I already took that off the plate. I don't know if that was a selfish idea that I decided that nothing's a crisis because now you call me at 2 in the morning.
Healthy. No, it's a healthy idea because you're right. If it's that type of medical emergency, go to a hospital.
Right.
And if not, you've been doing this a minimum of 6, 7, 8, 10 years.
I also will tell you my noon trick. This is coming out. Maybe, I don't know, your podcast is new. Maybe, hopefully there'll be millions of people watching it. But
Billions.
I don't know how many people this is. But I have a noon trick. When someone
take a nap
calls
at
me
noon?
in total panic and emergency and I'm like, I want to deal with this. You have no idea. I'm going to deal with this all. Call me at 12 o'clock tomorrow. And I got you. We were going to deal with this. And they're
What
like,
does
their
that
kids
do?
are going to die.
Wait, what does that do?
90% of people don't call me the next day, for starters. They don't call me. Because it was like
I feel
a
like
crisis.
you're reading my mind. I was like, well, people don't call back.
It's been a crisis. You're right. 90% of people are like, oh, my kid's still alive. It's fine. Like the day before, I was like, they're going to die. So they call me back. I'm like, so sometimes I worry, like, are they dead? Like, are they not calling me because of the funeral? Like, what happened there? But I got over that after a while. And the 10% call back, I can have a reasonable conversation. I can't have a conversation with a parent or a loved one who's in the middle of panicking.
Right.
There's no conversations.
Right, because everything is okay. It's
I
all
even had
emergency.
another one. A parent called me. This is terrible. This parent called me, yelling at me. I didn't even say. I said hello. Ah! So I hung
Well, that's
up.
helpful. You hung up.
I didn't even say that. I just turned off. The good thing about cell phones is you could lose connection, so no one knows when you hang up on them.
They
And
do
then
now.
She calls back. She calls back again, yelling at me again. She was angry at me. I don't know. And she's yelling, and I hung up again. And she calls back again and goes, "Hello, is everything all right? Is everything all right with your phone?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. What's up?" And we had a perfectly normal conversation. But it took 3 times. I'm like, I'm not starting in panic.
It's so funny.
So a lot of the stuff we're doing, we're having the best staff meetings. Like in our community, there's like 2 communities going on. There's the staff community. Our staff meetings are like process groups. We're just like dealing with our stuff.
I'm having so much FOMO. You have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm having
try.
tremendous FOMO.
It's fun.
Tremendous FOMO.
And in our, in the sober living community or the addiction community, there's a huge burnout. Nobody wants to ever leave. They love working. It's fun. The expectations are not very high in terms of like, oh my God, you did everything wrong. It's everything. We got plenty of time. These people have been in this forever. They're going to be fine. Oh, he didn't get up out of bed for 3 months. It doesn't bother us. It doesn't bother us. I mean, we'll work with where we're at, and we'll get there.
The living definition of Zen and serenity.
Yeah.
And acceptance.
So there you go. So that's what we're doing. And it actually has been pretty awesome. My only thing that I struggle with is that I really want to say yes to a lot of things. Like today, someone called me on the way here, like, could you do a podcast live in Brooklyn? And I'm like, I don't want to. Right? But
So,
I don't want to say
thank
no.
you. Thank you very much.
So my problem is that when people see you're doing nice stuff and you're putting your heart into it, they're just going to come for you. So
that's my next question.
Right. So that's where I just have to say no.
So how are you now teaching this? Yes, you have your staff, but you need to now take your model.
Right.
Like 6, 10, 12, your houses. This needs to be more.
Right.
So how are you training people? Do you speak at conventions? Do you do community events so people know what's going on? Like,
basically, I was going to a lot of these conferences and making speeches and stuff like that.
wearing the T-shirt, I hope.
Wearing a T-shirt.
Right, perfect.
By the way, this is a brand new T-shirt.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's only my second time wearing it.
I like it, but you're never going to wear like a shirt and tie. Don't do that.
I'm trying not to.
Don't do that.
I'm doing a lecture on Sunday. I gotta
No.
Nice.
I forbid it.
Just a T-shirt.
Absolutely. I don't care who it's to. No.
All right.
You're doing the T-shirt. That's it.
All right. I'll try to remain the T-shirt guy.
Absolutely.
But
I don't know if I'd recognize you in a suit and tie.
I really started hating going and making lectures and speeches at conferences, and part of it is that there's a part of me that very few people know is that I don't like the label, but I think I'm more of an introvert.
I knew you were going to say that.
You're going to say that. I don't like the label. But my favorite
You think
word,
that's true?
Yeah, my favorite word that I have in my life, when someone said it to me recently, and I was like, holy cow, that explains my entire existence, and you're going to love it too. It's called JOMO, which is joy of missing out. Like, it is so much more, like, if something great is happening and I'm missing it, it's great. Like, it's better than just staying at home if I know something is happening. So...
Sonny, no one would know that about you.
No,
you are the
because
most
I'm out there. I'm totally
and
out
you really,
there.
Are you being honest? You really think that's
100%.
really you?
I come home and I am like completely drained from like the enormous amount. I can speak to 50 new people in a day.
Right.
And I'm doing it because it's a mission and I'm great at it. And there is a part of it I love it. That's why I don't want to like say I only hate it. But like one of the things I do a lecture and then everybody like talks to me afterwards, and if I could do a lecture and disappear afterwards, that would be my favorite thing ever. Like I got my mission out there and like don't talk to me. So that's where podcasting came in. Podcasting, I hide in my basement. Made a really nice studio, and I hide there, and I get to talk to people I love, and I get to put out my messages and spread it. Because the truth is, it's not about my sober living homes. I'm trying to make a revolution. It's like what I call like my Elon Musk style, which is if I want everybody to change. Let's say Elon Musk wanted everybody to be in electric cars, so everybody else made an electric car. We had the Prius. You know what I'm saying? Like we had the Prius, and nobody liked it. It was dumb. The only way to get people to change from their old dumb ways is to make the new way way better. Right. Like you can't just say like you tell me like we're eating salads. Like I'll switch to salads. It's not better than meat. Meat is. I like a pasta, but I was like, could you make a pasta that's healthy, that's better? I can't switch. So the idea is that I have to make a program that is so much better than anything else. And it's cheaper, and it's better, and it's more lovely, and it's easier. If I could do all that, and then throw that into the world, it would turn every sober living house into this.
And you think, and your
method.
podcast is going to do that?
I'm trying it with my podcast. How? The podcast, what I found about a podcast.
Because you can come in here and talk every week. I'll help you with the revolution.
I like it.
Yeah, what is it?
The podcast, someone once explained to me, because it's very frustrating, because podcasting, like, the average podcast in America has 50 views on a podcast. That's depressing as anything, but that's the number. And when I started podcasting, so I already had a little bit of a following, but it was like 200. It was like it was tight. But then someone said, like, imagine you every week made a lecture and 200 people showed up. And all those people are interested in what you have to say.
You're doing this weekly?
I'm doing it weekly.
Wow.
And wouldn't you do that? Like if you just spread the word, 200 people at a time?
Yes.
Like, that sounds great. Now I'm at 10,000.
How?
10,000 people a week are listening. No, not every single one. My biggest one, my smallest is like 1,000. My biggest are 10,000. I've been doing it for a little while. I'm getting on fascinating guests. We're talking about big topics. What I'm saying is, like, how could I spread it more than that? We're talking long form about real topics. I could talk for 2 hours. I'm ready to go
and
for 3 hours.
And is it all addiction? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's all about all the things that are going on in the world. But the truth is, and I'm interested in a lot of things.
Like what? Trump's trial, the war in Israel, like what?
We talk about Israel a bunch because that's a topic it's hard to not talk about a little bit. I want to get comedy in part of my podcast because I think everything is easier to swallow when you're laughing about it.
That's for sure.
So that's it. There's a lot of addiction stuff. Some Jewish topics that we're talking about. I've been dealing with a little bit with like the people refusing the get topic, which I'm getting a lot of problems with. Women not being treated right in our community is something that really matters to me, especially as my kids are older. The Flatbush girl here, she'll drive everybody crazy.
You know what? I kind of say, like, she might drive everybody crazy, but she's talking
doing
about
great
it.
stuff.
She's talking about it.
She's amazing.
Somebody has to say
Yes.
it. I mean, someone has.
Right. I've gotten in more trouble for having her on than any other one. I can't go to school with everybody harassing me. So what I'm saying
everybody wants you.
Good.
Everybody hates you.
Right.
You can be your own codependent down though.
So anyway, that is my most fascinating thing. And it's long form. I don't have to a little interview where I'm like, quick responses. Let's talk it out. If you disagree with me, let's hear it. Let's flesh this idea out. And let's figure it out. And I'm finding that more and more people, if we really start fleshing it out, we all agree with each other. Yeah. There's little nuances that we disagree on, and that's beautiful to like spot that. And everybody has their way to like bring it to the world. All the people I hire in my program are different than me. They all have a different little twist on it, but we all agree on the big thing. That if the only way people are going to heal is if they're being held and there's a container of love, of unconditional love. Right. And when you have that and we patch up their leaking tank, their leaking love tank, we patch that up and we refill it, they could do anything. I'm not getting rid of mental health issues. I'm not getting rid of anxiety or depression, but I'm giving people the ability to deal with it. Right. Without that, they got nothing. So everybody else is trying to like patch up the anxiety thing. Oh, I'm going to give them anti-anxiety, anti-depression. You're patching up like the end of the process. This is the results of a difficult life.
Stuff that they've never
Right. So we're just giving them the ability, what parents give to our kids. Like you talk about,
should give to their kids.
Should give to your kids. Yeah. A container, you could handle anything.
Right.
It's not so brilliant. It's not so brilliant.
I just went to my final child's graduation 2 nights ago. Number 11. Number 11 graduated. It was really, Scott from my and plug for Scott. I have him on here. Also, he's going to be on my podcast. And one kid got up. He encourages all the kids to speak. It was really like group therapy. It was really wonderful. It was not a graduation. This was group therapy with people wearing gowns and caps and cakes. It was really fabulous. This kid got up, and what he said, not everybody gets an opportunity in their life to be unconditionally loved. He said, you come here, you get the opportunity. I started tearing up. He's like, you get the opportunity to be unconditionally loved. And I was just like, wow, this kid's 18. And he nailed it. He's like, that's what I got out of here.
Right.
And it's true. This is, right? This is what's gonna heal us. This is the only thing that's gonna heal us. No blame. Yeah. But the systems, the people that are not quite getting it, because this is very, I teach addiction at the social work school, and I said there's 2 things I want you to get out of this class. Number 1, addiction is a disease process. People with addiction are fabulous. They have a disease, and they have to be treated, right? Disease hurts. Addiction hurts. Cancer hurts. Diabetes hurts. Addiction hurts. It's a disease.
Right.
And number 2, that's the first thing. You walk out that they're human beings. They're fabulous people. They are fabulous people. When you dig down, they're also the most creative, sensitive, marshmallow people on the planet. They're
Spiritual.
The most beautiful souls to ever be, 100%. And the second thing I want people to think about is the relationship between the macro and the micro. That you don't have addiction without a system on top that's supporting it, causing it, creating it, at multiple levels.
Right.
So you're in Rockland County, huge systems. Your podcast is going to...
Okay, you asked me the depressing question. The other question was a good question. Now it's a depressing question. We have 6 minutes. I'll finish this in 1 minute. You ready?
Well, that gives me 5 minutes of accolades and a chance to ask you back. It's okay, yeah.
The depressing question is that
it's systems. Systems are the thing
right. It's systems. But the way I see,
which is why I liked working for you,
right?
Because it was never a system, which is why it worked, because it was people.
It was people.
Always people.
Right. We saw the people.
It wasn't paperwork, and we do paperwork. Wasn't paperwork and forms and systems and emails and right. It was let's talk.
Yes.
With the dog, without the dog, having pizza, not having pizza.
It's true. So. Bringing the dog is nice. I will say that in a macro level, I believe that, and because my whole thesis in life is that community is what we need, and community is what's missing.
Yep.
And it's meaning having a toxic mother doesn't have to destroy you. If you have an uncle and an aunt and a grandparent
Correct.
and this, and you're surrounded
Correct.
by a community. The problem that's happening since the Industrial Revolution. That's why Freud needed to show up. Like it's the Industrial Revolution that broke up the whole communities and
families. That's what Durkheim said.
What?
Emil Durkheim. That was a lot of his work. That's exactly what he said.
That's what he said.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that
you're a reincarnation of Emil Durkheim.
There you go. Well, there's something beautiful going on now, that we have freedom and movement and way to express ourselves and find out who we really are and have self-expression like we've never had before.
Correct.
You do not have to be born into royalty to have a beautiful life, a beautiful, wonderful, comfortable life where you don't have to be hungry one day in your whole life. What a great life, and I love it all, and I don't want to ever say anything bad about it. But there is a baby with a bathwater situation here. Is that there? If you look at first world, if you look at low-income countries now, or something, they're still stuck in these tiny communities. They're going through hell on earth in terms of what's going on. All of their levels, like all the research on their coping mechanisms and how they get dealing with it, are like way better than us. Because they are surrounded by community and they're being held. So what's happening now, what I believe, is I don't want to push anything back. I don't want to put anything back. But we have to figure out how to integrate kind of an urban homestead in our lives. Like we've exploded out.
Yep.
Like they say the creation of the world with God was like an explosion, and then there's like a little bit of like a pullback. Wait a minute, we're too far away from each other.
Right.
So what I'm feeling is that in order to really tackle this, we could go to the schools, we could go to this. It's like touching on little pieces.
Okay.
The real issue is that we have to know from day one is that we need these tight communities. So if that becomes, I can't be my siblings, then our block, our group have to be starting to get back to that very tight. Everybody's taking care of each other's kids, and it takes
a village.
It takes a village.
Our village to raise a child.
Right. Yep. But it also takes a village to figure out how to make a village.
Correct.
So what I'm trying to say,
I like that.
when I'm talking about podcasts, I'm coming on your podcast, and we're doing all these podcasting and discussions. To me, if I had to like figure anything out, there's always going to be people suffering, and we're always going to help them. But the fact that it's happening on such a massive scale right now is, in my opinion, because we don't have these communities. So now, what my question to the world is, how do we bring it back without destroying what we have? Because I tell you what, if you drop an atom bomb, we'll have communities afterwards. It'll be a couple of people, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that.
Right.
But,
so
that's what I'm saying.
To end on depression, before I tell you how much I love you, but
was that depressing?
No, it was real. And it was realistic, and you and I think very much alike, which is why this has been incredible for me. And I am telling you right now, I want you back 14 times. It's amazing. But I have been in 2 community places, the rooms and the hospitality rooms, whatever, at hospitals. My son was sick and died, and you know what you get there? Community.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what you're wearing. Nobody cares if you're black, white, purple, pink, Episcopalian. Nobody cares. The rooms are completely accepting. And when I was in all the hospitals in New York City, the Hasidic guy with the long payas is serving chocolate cake and coffee to the woman in a halter top and shorts and asking her, how is your child? And I'm praying for you. No one cared. They're bonded together. And I don't think it should take that. right? But those are the only two places I've ever been in the world, where you just come in and you are bathed in love and acceptance and prayer. And that's it. You're going back to community.
That's what we're talking about.
So I hope that was more uplifting.
I'm
Not
excited.
really.
No, I'm excited. There are a bunch of us that are all on the same mission,
Yeah.
and we're meeting in the middle. And to me, podcasting, which is like, I'm making a podcast, I see this as very mission. Like, I could get my message out.
I think I
there
hear you.
are hundreds of thousands of people that have listened to my podcast, and some of them are dumb. Some of them, I had a podcast with my niece.
Yeah, Schiff.
Schiff.
Of course I know her.
Do you listen to the podcast?
But that's one of our
But
connections.
he was like, why yeah? Was she a professional? What does she do? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's my niece. I want to tell people how important it is to be an uncle.
Yeah. And she's
Go
great.
be an uncle.
And she's a great.
And be a niece.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And it was one of the greatest conversations.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, like, so that, to me, that podcast was saying my mission more than any of my other podcasts. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sonny.
Beautiful.
This was beyond one of the best hours I have ever spent. And please, 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 please come back. This was unbelievable. You're incredible.
Well, thanks for having me.
Grateful. Right? My gratitude list. I am very grateful to have you in my life. You're an unbelievable human being. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Pink Elephant Podcast. This was really incredible. Thank you, Sonny.
Love y'all.